The helicopters came before dawn, carrying Trump's warning to a city that refused him. By sunrise, 500 National Guard troops surrounded Chicago, ordered in by a president now threatening to jail its mayor and governor. This isn't law and order, it's the sound check for authoritarian rule. Welcome to the progressive wave. Truth, resistance, no compromise. If you believe democracy isn't a brand name for tyranny, subscribe now and let's stand shoulder to shoulder in the storm. They said the troops were here to protect federal personnel. But the truth is simpler and darker. Rows of armored vehicles idled along the expressway like props in a theater of control. Diesel fumes, flashing lights, soldiers in silence. An image meant not to protect, but to intimidate. Trump's orders landed over the objections of Mayor Brandon Johnson and Governor J.B. Pritzker. Both had begged Washington not to militarize their city. In response, Trump called for their arrest, tweeting that they should be in jail for defying him. Neither man has been accused of a crime, but that was never the point. The point was power. Do you think this crosses the line into authoritarianism? Comment "Enough is enough" below. Every dictatorship starts with a performance. Chaos on stage, control behind the curtain. For weeks, the administration painted Chicago as a war zone, though the protests were largely peaceful. In Little Village and Pilsen, families carried signs, not weapons. They chanted the name of a man killed by ICE, Silverio Villegas Gonzalez, shouting through tears, "Todos somos Silverio. We are all Silverio." The chant rolled through the streets like thunder, a declaration that they would not vanish quietly. By noon, downtown hummed with uneasy normalcy, traffic lights flickering, trains screeching overhead, helicopters circling endlessly. In Black and Latino neighborhoods, fear took physical shape. Men kept their heads down. Storefronts hung signs reading "We serve everyone." Half declaration, half prayer. Mayor Johnson faced reporters that afternoon. "This is not the first time Trump has tried to have a black man unjustly arrested," he said. "I'm not going anywhere." The words cut through the static like a flare. A teacher-turned-organizer now stood against a president commanding troops. Governor Pritzker, calm but furious, called it what it was. Trump is now calling for the arrest of elected representatives, checking his power. What else is left on the path to full-blown authoritarianism? His question wasn't rhetorical. It was a warning. For Trump, the confrontation was spectacle, a display of dominance wrapped in patriotic language. Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem echoed him, declaring that any official who fails to protect federal officers should be prosecuted. The logic was pure theater. Dissent itself became the crime. In courtrooms from Illinois to California, judges faced a question democracy never should. Can one man command an army against his own citizens? Trump hinted he might invoke the Insurrection Act, a relic that would let him bypass governors entirely. His lawyers stayed silent, but the threat was loud enough. A soldier on the ground, speaking off record, confessed what others only thought. "We follow orders," he said quietly. "But this doesn't feel right." His words hung like smoke, heavy, honest, dangerous. This isn't policy, it's pavement. It's the street beneath your feet and the neighbor you might lose tomorrow. Because every empire begins the same way, by calling fear security and obedience law. Democracy doesn't die all at once. It bleeds out quietly through applause and indifference. Every time we shrug, every time we say it can't happen here, the wound deepens. Type "We are all Silverio" in the comments if you stand with the people, not the power. But resistance flickers like candlelight. Protesters kept marching. Lawyers worked through the night, filing injunctions to stop the troop deployment. And in homes across Chicago, people whispered prayers that no one would be taken tonight. In a small apartment near 18th Street, a mother named Marisol held a cardboard sign. "No somos enemigos. We are not the enemy." Around her, teenagers carried painted shields with hearts on them. Their laughter rose through the cold air, half fear, half defiance. Hope, it turns out, can sound a lot like rebellion. Abroad, world leaders watched in disbelief. They had seen this story before. Populist strongmen invoking law and order to silence dissent. America was now performing a version of the same old play. The set was modern, but the script was ancient. Pause for a moment. What happens when a president ignores the courts? Let me know what you think below. Late at night, as rain glazed the streets, Mayor Johnson stood at his office window. Below, red taillights streamed like veins. Above, helicopters pulsed through fog. He was one man in one city, but part of a lineage older than fear. People who looked at power and said, no further. In Washington, Trump's aides drafted statements calling the deployment a success. On social media, he boasted that law and order had returned to Chicago, though the city had never truly erupted. The illusion was the point. For every camera that caught the gleam of a soldier's helmet, the myth deepened, the strong man saving a nation from itself. But outside that frame, ordinary life refused to surrender. In kitchens, classrooms, and subway cars, people still spoke, quietly, urgently, defiantly. Their voices rose through the static, repeating a name, a promise, a warning. Todo somos Silverio. If you've made it this far, you are the resistance. Like this video so it reaches everyone who refuses silence. Subscribe before the next story breaks, because silence, as history has taught us, is never neutral. Because in the end, democracy doesn't survive on speeches or slogans, it survives on people too stubborn to be afraid. The helicopters will fade, the soldiers will leave, but the echo of their blades will remain, a reminder of how close the line runs between order and obedience, freedom and fear. And somewhere in that silence after the storm, a voice will whisper the question every empire fears most. What if the people are not afraid anymore?
Thank you for tuning in and supporting our journey at the Progressive Wave, where knowledge, New York City, and community come together to make a difference. Every view, comment, and share strengthens our growing community, and we're excited to have you along for the ride. Our mission is simple: to dive into the heart of today's most pressing issues, examining current events, news, and politics through a critical, human-centered lens. With so much unfolding in the world, it is easy to feel disconnected or overwhelmed. But that is why we are here. We aim to bring clarity and context, shining a light on the stories that shape our lives, while empowering our audience to think critically, ask questions, and get involved. And of course, as a New York City-based platform, we are passionate about sharing the magic of New York City with you. From hidden gems to iconic landmarks, we cover everything that makes this city unique and resilient, adding a local flavor to our discussions on broader social and political matters. But what really sets the Progressive Wave apart is our dedication to community engagement. This is a space for shared learning and discussion, where your ideas and suggestions fuel the conversation.